I started this a little early. It seems to be taking a little bit of time to buffer. That's fine. Okay, all right. You can get started now if you'd like.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Green Street Food Truck. And I want to thank the Hauppauge Public Library for inviting me to come on and do this live cooking demo. And tonight we're going to be making vegan scallops with Cashew Alfredo. So you might be asking yourself, like, what are vegan scallops? Like, what exactly are we going to be looking at tonight? And the main item tonight is going to be king oyster mushrooms. So this is what the packaging looks like. You can find this at most any Asian supermarket. So this one I find at H Mart in Jericho, but you can also find it in some other specialty supermarkets. Sometimes Whole Foods or maybe a Trader Joe's might carry it once in a while, but H Mart is always a good resource. And this is what the king oyster mushroom looks like. So it's kind of thick stem, small little cap, and then the bottom is kind of tough and rooty. We're going to actually cut that piece off. But tonight, again, the main item is going to be the king oyster mushroom. The Alfredo that we're going to be using is made out of cashews. And the pasta is going to be Explorer Cuisine. It's the Edamame Spaghetti, which if you're not familiar with, I would highly check it out. Highly suggest checking out. It's really high in protein. It's made with edamame, so it's a good plant-based source of protein. Full of fiber, which is good for your gut health. And it cooks actually really quickly. So it only takes about 3 to 5 minutes to cook up. So the first thing, when you open up the package, you're going to want to rinse off the king oyster mushrooms, which I've already done. You're going to pat them dry. And now I'm going to rotate this camera down so you can see what's happening over here. So once they've already been patted dry, we're just going to slice off the bottom. And we can discard this. And the top, we're going to use as well. But we're just going to slice it off and put it to the side. So in the end, you're just going to have these long vertical tubes of the mushroom. And we want to cut them up into about 1/4 inch rounds. So about yay thick, nice little rounds. It already kind of starts to look like a scallop. So we're just going to slice them about 1/4 inch thick all the way through. And once we have those cut up, we're going to put them in the pan with our sesame oil. And this is a great recipe because it only uses a couple of ingredients. It's really easy to cook. The mushrooms don't take long to cook up. They have a nice meaty texture to them, similar to an oyster. And then when we finish, we have these beautiful rounds that we can slice in, put in the pan. And once they cook, they're going to shrink in size. So this large one here is probably going to end up looking a little bit more like this smaller one. So they're going to get a little bit smaller as we cook them up. And I'm going to move you guys over here so you can see what's happening in the pan. All right. So I got my gas going. I'm going to do just a couple tablespoons of the sesame oil. Then we're going to toss in these scallops. So we're going to get each side going. And the idea is that we want to just cook each side for about 3 to 4 minutes. And we're going to start to add in the extra ingredients. So the other stuff that we're going to toss in is going to be a little bit of garlic powder. We have some nori, which is going to give it some of that seaweed flavor. And we're going to toss in these caps too. So you might see in some recipes online that they're going to ask you to toss out the caps, but there's no need to toss them out. They have good flavor. They're vital for the ingredients, for the nutrients. All right, so while these are cooking, we're going to toss in our pasta, which is going to be in the back. So this is our Edamame Spaghetti. Again, super high in protein, great source of fiber. It's all plant-based. Each serving is going to give you 24 grams of protein for each serving of this spaghetti. So for those people that are interested in moving towards a more plant-based diet that are maybe concerned about where they're going to get their protein, choosing ingredients like this is a really easy way to get tons of protein without sacrificing any flavor. And they're fairly inexpensive. All right. So, I'm gonna let those go a little bit more. Yeah, the pasta going. And from here, we're going to start tossing in the rest of our ingredients. So we've got garlic powder. And this garlic powder, we're just going to use about a half a tablespoon of the garlic powder. I'm going to sprinkle that over top. We have 1 teaspoon of sea salt. And we have 1 teaspoon of soy sauce. We're going to mix these around a little bit, get all that flavor mixed in. And then we're just going to start to flip these over so both sides are going to get cooked evenly. Pasta is boiling, so pasta's only got a few more minutes before it's finished. You can already start to see the scallops already kind of looking like the scallops, these mushrooms. All right. You want to cook these over a medium heat so they can quickly get burnt if you have it on a high heat. And before you know it, it's going to be no good. Last thing we're going to toss in to give it a little bit more of that sea flavor is going to be our Nori. So this comes either in like the full sheets, but what we have here is like the little ribbons. So a spoon, and you can either dice them up with a knife. I have to just shred it with my hands, sprinkle it over, make sure all of the mushrooms get a little bit mixed in. And this is going to give you that sea flavor. So something that you'd be finding in the actual scallops if you were choosing the fish. But tonight we're not, so we don't have that natural flavor of the ocean coming in.
So how much of that do you put on?
You can also use dulse. So this is going to be about a tablespoon. Again, if you wanted to, you can just chop it up really fine. I've tried a bunch of different ideas, so I've mixed it in and marinated. Doesn't change it too much, but if you want to get all this stuff done ahead of time, you're more than welcome to. And you can also sprinkle it on afterwards as well. So some people, when they're choosing their mushrooms, they're not interested in having that fishy type flavor because they just want to enjoy the mushrooms. But I found it a nice little addition to it. All right, so we're going to let those cook for just a couple more minutes. We're going to check on our pasta. All right, that is almost done. That's one thing I love about this type of pasta is it cooks really quickly. All right, and right now we're going to jump right over to our Cashew Alfredo sauce. All right, so I'll move you guys over here for a moment. So if you do not have a Vitamix, which is what I'm going to be using to blend everything. If you don't have a Vitamix, I would suggest soaking your cashews ahead of time to ensure that you get a nice, smooth, creamy flavor and texture. If you do have a Vitamix, it's not crucial, but it does help to release the nutrients from the cashews. And that is actually true with any type of nut. When you soak them, it helps to release the extra nutrients that are locked inside of the nut. So whether it's a cashew or it's an almond or any other nut that you choose to enjoy, you can soak those overnight. You're going to put them in a cup or a glass, fill them covered in water, and then just leave them in the refrigerator overnight. Rinse out the water, drain out the water, rinse off the cashews, and you can enjoy them as is. But today, we're going to toss them in our Vitamix. So the Cashew Alfredo, it's going to be 1 cup of raw cashews. Again, these are not soaked, but you can soak them if you like. I'm going to drain this pasta before it gets overcooked. In 1 moment. All right, so we have the 1 cup of raw cashews. Next, we have nutritional yeast. If you're not familiar with nutritional yeast, it's like a little flaky yellow product, and it has a cheesy type flavor. So it's really good if you want to toss it on salads or popcorn or anything that you would sprinkle any type of like a Parmesan or any type of like regular type of cheese. You want to mix it in. We use nutritional yeast on the food truck when we're doing our cheese sauce for our mac and cheese. This is going to be 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. This is going to help give it that cheesy flavor of the Alfredo sauce. Next, we have 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. Sorry, what was the question?
Did you say 3 tablespoons of the yeast?
Yes,
Okay.
3 tablespoons, yep. And we have the 3 teaspoons of lemon juice. And this is going to be 1 teaspoon of garlic. If you have fresh garlic, it would be like 2 cloves, but this is just going to be 1 teaspoon. We have half a teaspoon of sea salt. So half a teaspoon of sea salt goes in. And then the last thing is going to be our non-dairy milk. So right now I'm using a Planet Oat milk. So it's unsweetened. It's their original flavor. If you're going to choose a plant-based milk, which makes sense, you know, this is a fully plant-based recipe, you want to choose just original flavor, unsweetened, so it doesn't throw off the taste of it. So if you don't have an allergy to almonds, you could use almond milk. You could use cashew milk, which is nice and creamy. Oat milk has a nice neutral flavor, so I like to use that. And this is going to be about a half a cup of the non-dairy milk. So half a cup of the non-dairy milk. It's going to go right in. And that's everything. We're going to put the lid on. We're going to put it in the Vitamix. And I'm going to move you guys back over to the mushrooms. So they're just about done. You get this nice and steady. It's going to get a little bit loud for a second because the Vitamix is going. Show you the scallops up close. So up close, you can see it's got a nice texture on all the edges, lightly browned, and even within these tongs, you can feel it's got a nice chewy type of scallop texture to it. And these are the caps. You can see even the big ones have shrunk down. The little ones are even smaller. All right, let's see how our Alfredo sauce is. Okay, so next, we're going to scoop in our pasta. So we have the Edamame Spaghetti. Let's throw in just a couple of these scallops. And I'm going to email out the recipe. So for any of those people that were watching, I can send it out so you guys can have it to look at home. And the last part is going to be our creamy Alfredo sauce. So I'm going to pour it into a little bowl you can see. So you can see it nice and creamy, nice and smooth. Again, if you don't have a Vitamix, you want to make sure that you're soaking the nuts overnight so that when you blend them, they're nice and smooth. If you don't, it's going to be kind of grainy, gritty. The texture is going to be totally off, and it's not going to be a very pleasurable experience. But with the Vitamix, it's got enough power that the raw cashew, you can blend it nice and smooth. So with this, we're just going to place it right over top of our scallops. Nice and smooth, creamy. And even my kids, you know, I got 3 kids. I have an 11-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old, and Monday's going to be 4. He even enjoys this. So this is something even picky eaters can enjoy. Nice and simple. Just takes a couple of minutes, honestly. I mean, we started at 6:30. It's 6:47 now, and dinner is served in 17 minutes with a healthy plant-based meal that is full of plant-based protein and vitamins, minerals, everything that you're going to need to fuel your day, your week, and everything else that you're doing. All right, we'll move you right back over here. Hopefully I'm not making anyone seasick with all this movement. It's a little bit tricky in this small food truck setup. But I want to see if anyone has any questions about the recipe, if they want me to go over with the ingredients again, or even any questions about choosing a more plant-based lifestyle, cooking that way, if there's anything else that you had in mind that you want to get covered.
It definitely looks yummy, and I appreciate the recipe too, even though I've been writing it down too. But
yeah,
do you have any other recipes too that you could send to us?
I can send out a handful of recipes. I used to work for a really great nonprofit organization called Educated Choices Program, and I was their food coach. And so part of my job was to develop and share some recipes with people that were interested in moving towards a more plant-based lifestyle. So I have a list of recipes that are really easy to make, that are perfect for people that are kind of interested in moving more towards a plant-based diet, and just, you know, maybe even adding a few meals each week. So everything from like a chia seed pudding to plant-based burgers, and our vegan scallops. So I'll definitely send out an email with a bunch of recipes attached. Anything else?
When you were doing the scalloped mushrooms,
Yes.
you throw away did you put in the top, or I couldn't tell what you threw away?
So the tops are here.
Okay.
Yep, these are the tops. They're kind of dark brown on the very top. The pieces that I did not use were the bottoms that would be growing into the earth. So if I can show you another package. So this would be the whole mushroom, and that would be the bottom part, which I imagine you could probably just chop off that brown gritty texture on the bottom, but I usually just toss it in the compost bin. Everything else I would use, but these mushrooms for a 3-pack like this, it's usually about $2.99 for 3 of them. Sometimes they have them on sale for like $1.99, so it's actually pretty reasonable. As far as the other ingredients, the best place that I found for prices, as far as cashews, nuts, and things like that, that are usually pretty pricey, is actually a really great Indian supermarket in Hicksville called Patel Brothers. And you can get a bag of cashews, a 3-pound bag of cashews. I got some a couple weeks ago. They were $6.99 for 3 pounds. Regular price are $8.99 for 3 pounds, which is a pretty reasonable price, I would say, for cashews. And everything else, honestly, this meal, all in total, probably cost less than $10 to $15 for a family of 4, which you really can't beat that. I've got 3 kids, like I said, my wife, myself. So feeding a family of 5 for like $20, I think is a pretty good meal, and a pretty good bargain when it's just $4 or $5 per person for a full meal that's packed with nutrients that's good for you. All right. Any other questions about the recipe or any other ideas? Maybe how to move forward towards a more plant-based lifestyle?
Yeah, you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I myself went vegan about 8.5 years ago. I was training for an Ironman triathlon, and I've been an athlete my whole life, so I'm always looking for a competitive edge. And I came across a book called Finding Ultra by Rich Roll, and it outlined his kind of story of his life, where he went through alcohol and drug addiction, found his way to getting sober, and eventually found himself following a plant-based diet. And long story short, Men's Health touted him as one of the top 10 fittest men in the world. He ended up doing a couple ultra-distance Ironman triathlons, so went over 3 days. It was like a 9.7-mile swim, followed like a 156-mile bike, and then a double marathon. And that really got me to thinking that maybe this whole plant-based thing could be something beneficial for me. So I read a few more books, specifically the China study, and watched a couple documentaries. At that point, I was kind of convinced that maybe this would have some type of benefit for me. So I jumped in cold tofu and just gave up meat, eggs, dairy, fish, everything overnight and gave it a go. And it had a really tremendous impact on me within a month. I was sleeping better. My focus was improved. My energy levels were improved. Just my whole body started to feel better. I always had aches and pains from all my training. And after I switched to this diet, I noticed that those aches and pains pretty much went away within a couple of weeks, because the nutrients that you're getting from a plant-based diet, it's far more readily available than what you'd be getting on a typical standard American diet. So your body's able to quickly absorb and use the nutrients that you're getting from the fruits, the vegetables, nuts, seeds, and whole grains much easier than what you're going to be getting when you're eating the meat and the chicken and the steak and all that stuff. It takes a long time for your body to break it down and digest it, which is typically why most people, when they are following the standard American diet, when they finish a meal, they usually feel pretty lethargic and they get tired and maybe they're ready to take a nap. It's because your body is working extra hard just to break down all those meat-based proteins. Whereas when you're choosing a more plant-based protein or plant-based meals, your body's easily able to break it down and utilize it in the form of energy or to repair any injuries that you're facing, which is, for me, that was the biggest factor I was looking for, is a quick recovery from my workouts, which is something that I noticed happened almost immediately. My body reacted in a very positive way. So for me, I've been vegan for about 8.5 years. And again, I went all in overnight. My wife thought I was crazy, but she kind of thinks I'm crazy with a lot of stuff that I do. But for a lot of people, that might be a little bit too aggressive, going in overnight. So what I would suggest for a lot of people, if they're interested in moving in that direction, is maybe just doing a meatless Monday. So one day a week, and it doesn't even have to be a Monday. It could be a Tuesday, it could be a Saturday. Whatever day of the week makes sense for you and for your schedule, or if you have a family, what's easiest. And pick one day out of the week where you're choosing to have no meat. Maybe you're still having some dairy, but you're not having any meats, you're not having any chicken or fish, none of that. So instead, maybe you're having veggie burgers. You have a lot of great plant-based burgers out in the market, whether it's the Impossible Burger, the Beyond Burger, and I'm going to share with you guys a really great black bean burger, but there's a lot of other options that you can choose. So you could do the vegan scallops. Maybe you do some tofu, or maybe you just do like a Buddha bowl, a quote unquote Buddha bowl, where it's a lot of different vegetables and grains all put into one bowl. So my favorite one would be like roasted sweet potato with some black beans, avocado, over better greens, maybe with some shredded carrots, some tomatoes, onion. So it's kind of like a chipotle style, like Mexican flavored bowl, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be any type of meal that you enjoy. What I found to be most helpful in my transition was thinking about the meals that I would normally be desiring. So whether it was lasagna or a meatloaf, or whether it was like vegan scallops, if I would be normally wanting like a regular type of scallops, at that point early on, I would just Google some different recipes, or I'd reach out to a couple of my friends that were vegan or vegetarian and ask them recipes. And I would start to recreate the same things that I already enjoyed in a vegan version. So for me, I found that comforting, that I wasn't changing my entire life. I wasn't changing the meals that I've already grown in. I was just cooking them in a slightly different way. The whole idea of having a lasagna or a meatloaf, but using plant-based ingredients. So starting off one day a week, finding recipes that replicate the stuff that you already enjoy, maybe are following this type of lifestyle, is really helpful. I'm hard pressed if you didn't find anyone that was not interested in moving towards a plant-based diet, or already is doing that way. It's become pretty popular. People are giving it a go just to see if it would help them. So I'm sure you probably already have friends and family that are eating this way. And I can guarantee you, if you share with them that you're interested in eating a little bit more plant-based, that they will come rushing over and probably cook for you and share a ton of recipes, and probably even overwhelm you with ideas of how to get started and what to do. But going to the grocery store can also be a little bit overwhelming, because there's a lot of different options, and some of it can be new. I remember the first time I literally went and bought like almost every fruit and vegetable in the grocery store and came home and stuffed the fridge. I was like, all right, I'm vegan. I've got like every fruit and vegetable under the sun, and I don't know what to do with them. So go with a purpose. Come up with a couple meals that you want to do maybe for that week, or the next day that you're thinking about, whether it's like a veggie wrap, so using like a flour tortilla and some hummus and maybe some shredded carrots and tomatoes, avocado, some chickpeas, and you can wrap it up. But don't go in and just kind of start searching all over the place, because you're going to get kind of confused. You might get lost, and most likely you're going to get overwhelmed. So go in with some specific ideas of what you're looking for, what you want to create that week, which is going to help you to alleviate any of that anxiety when you get to the grocery store. Because I know that's one thing a lot of people share, is that when they get in there, the plant-based stuff is all over the place. You know, we're specifically on the food truck, we're also gluten-free. So that adds a whole nother level of complexity to it. But as far as the plant-based, I prefer to choose a little bit more of the whole foods plant-based. So I tend to stay more in that produce aisle. I do a lot of beans. I do a lot of lentils and ideas like that. I find myself personally, I feel a lot better. And you can create so many different meals with just a handful of ingredients. So it doesn't have to be something where you're shopping all over the place. Like these king oyster mushrooms, they are a specialty thing. You know, you're not going to find them everywhere, but this is kind of a specialty meal, at least for us. It's not something that we do on a regular basis. It's something that we have more of a special meal occasions. It's one of my wife's favorite recipes. So usually for her birthday or for the holidays, I'll make it. But you don't have to go crazy with it. You don't have to, go out and buy all the expensive cheeses and the meat alternatives. As long as you're choosing the more plant-based items, the cost is going to be lower and it's going to be a little bit easier in my eyes. Any other questions or thoughts? No? All right. Well, I thank you everyone for joining me. What was that?
Oh, I was going to say, would you have like my email, or how does that work for the recipes?
We can.
Yes.
We'll have it sent out.
I mean, I think you've got my name, but I don't know if you have my email.
Well, if you want to, you can reach out to me and I can send you an email with the recipes. So if you have a pen and paper handy, I can give you my email address. You can shoot me a quick email and I can send over this recipe and the other ones, and we can correspond there, as well as if you have any other questions or any other ideas or any other thoughts that maybe pop into your mind after the video is done. So if you're ready, I'll give it to you. It's Matt, M-A-T-T.
Matt, M-A-T-T.
Yep.
At
Green Street
Green. You're going in and out. So with a.
It's Green, Green.
Okay. Oops.
Street.
Okay, Matt.
S-T-R-E-E-T.
Okay. Put that card up again, please.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure if it's clear.
Matt Gorski.
Yeah, K-O-R-S-K-Y.
Okay, so it's Matt at Green.
Green Street.
Street, okay. Yes. Okay, Matt at Green Street. Yeah, it's blurry, so. But I can look it up.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's Matt at greenstreetfoodtruck.com.
Trucks, okay.
Yeah,
We
it's,
also have a question from you if you'd be willing to answer that.
What was that?
We have a question from the live stream on YouTube if you'd like to respond to that, since we have a little time left.
Okay.
Krista, what books you might recommend for somebody starting out in veganism, or maybe somebody that has been a vegan but wants to try some new recipes? Anything you recommend?
Any recipes I would recommend or anything to try out? I think was a question.
Yes, I apologize.
So,
your bandwidth is a little bit low, so it might be hard to hear.
Yeah, no, it's all right. So then, yeah, I like to keep things simple. Even the stuff that we do on the food truck, it's all super simple ingredients. I think one, it makes it more approachable for anyone, even if they're beginning with their cooking experience. If they have little to no cooking experience, or even if they have a lot, I prefer to use minimal amount of ingredients. One, it's easier, it's cheaper, you don't have to be searching all over the place. And then two, it allows each ingredient to kind of stand out on its own and to speak for itself. So with this, the vegan scallops, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total ingredients, right? And 5 of them are just some basic spices that you're going to find in any of your kitchen cabinet. So I would start, if you're new to this, or even if you're starting to go a little bit more in direction, as far as meal ideas, I like to start my day with a smoothie, or maybe some granola with a plant-based yogurt and a bunch of fresh fruit. So whatever is in season. So if there's raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, I love to throw that in. Some granola with some plant-based yogurt, maybe some bananas. As far as smoothies, my personal go-to is a bunch of kale and spinach with some coconut water, and I'll throw in some mango and pineapple, and even a little bit of strawberry, and I just blend it all up. Sometimes it may not look as pretty with the mango and the kale and the strawberry, but my whole goal for me personally is to get a lot of nutrients in. You know, when I'm eating more whole foods plant-based, I feel better. But it could be something simple like frozen blueberries with some vanilla almond milk, tablespoon of peanut butter, and a banana. That's going to be a really nutritious breakfast. It's going to fill you up. It's not going to leave you feeling exhausted already from the first meal, and it's nice and refreshing. Something else as far as a breakfast idea could be overnight oats, which is a recipe I can share with you through that email. That's really simple. I usually use a mason jar. It's about a half a cup to 3/4 cup of raw oats, so uncooked oats. I do like a tablespoon of chia seeds, some ground flax seeds, a little bit of cinnamon, about a tablespoon of maple syrup. I add almond milk, and I shake it all up so it's all mixed together. And then I add in a bunch of fruits. So maybe it's diced apples, or maybe some craisins. Again, if there's blueberries or blackberries in season, I'm going to throw those in. And then once it's all filled up with that almond milk and shaken and mixed up, you can throw it in the fridge. And within 20 to 30 minutes, all of that liquid is going to be absorbed by the chia seeds, and the oats are going to be softened. And it's, again, a really easy, healthy meal that takes no more than 3 to 4 minutes to make. And it's going to be really low as far as cost, and it's going to be really high in nutrients, which is what we're looking for. A lot of the food that we eat right now as Americans on the standard American diet is really nutrient poor, but calorie dense, which is a major reason why we have this big epidemic of obesity in children and adults, and all the diabetes and the heart disease. All of this can be prevented by proper diet. You don't have to be going to the gym for 3 to 4 hours a day. Eating properly can pretty much eliminate any of these problems from your life. I've seen it personally in my own life, friends, family that have cured themselves from cancer by choosing a more plant-based lifestyle. So when you're thinking about plant-based foods, think simple, think nutrient dense. Some of the stuff is going to be calorie dense, like the cashews and stuff. So with those, you kind of want to limit the amount that you're having, because you can quickly add a lot of calories and fat content, which is not a bad thing. But if you're trying to maintain a healthy body weight, maybe even lose a little bit of weight, all those cashews, the nuts, the almonds, walnuts, and all those things are going to be very high in calories and fat. So it's not really going to assist too much in maintaining a healthy body weight. But it's also not something that you necessarily need to avoid, but it's something that you want to just have, a handful every day if you're choosing to. So as far as lunch options, my favorite go-to meal, honestly, is like brown rice, black beans, avocado, some salsa, and I'm happy as could be. Today for lunch, I had a baked potato, and I had like this lentil mix that I get from Trader Joe's. Cook it up in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes. I throw that in the baked potato. I add some salsa. If you haven't noticed, I'm a huge fan of salsa. And that was my lunch. I had that around 12:30, and now it's 7 o'clock, and I'm still full. I have actually no desire to eat. I'm completely full and satiated for the last 7 hours from that meal. You could also just do like an easy veggie wrap. For dinner, tacos is a pretty big hit in the family. We like to do a lot of veggie-based lasagnas. Last night we had burgers and fries. Really simple, so could be a lot of kid-friendly meals that don't take long. Another really great item that I have in my kitchen that I love is an air fryer. If you don't have one, look into it. They're pretty popular now, so you can get one. They're pretty inexpensive price range, and it's a good way to eat healthier without adding all the extra oil in it. And it's something that allows you to decrease the amount of time that you're baking or cooking because it cooks things about twice as fast. Hopefully that answers the question about some ideas about moving forward and if you're already kind of eating that way.
Hey, you heard me, thank you from an episode on YouTube, just saying thank you for all of your great vegan food, and just to share that with you while you're still on.
Yeah, no problem. So if you have any other questions, or if you want to reach out about any thoughts or anything else that comes to mind afterwards, you can find me. Actually, you can find a food truck. It's called Green Street Food Truck. We're actually opening a storefront in Levittown this summer. It's called Green Street Eatery. So pretty easily found on social media at Green Street Food Truck. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. And you can also find out where we are with the food truck. I post our schedule weekly. So this Friday we're going to be in St. James, but I post the schedule weekly on Instagram, Facebook, and our website. And the website is greenstreetfoodtruck.com. So again, thank you to the library for hosting this. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all and share my love of veganism and this food. Hopefully you find this recipe easy and enjoyable, and feel free to reach out. Easily found, even if you just search my name. And again, thank you everyone for joining. You have a wonderful evening, and hopefully I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.